Hello, my name is Margaret Adele, and welcome to another book review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Patchwork by Maddie Ballard while I sew old clothes into rags, because it just feels like the vibe. I'm not going to actually sew an entire garment like I did for the last sewing related book I got off NetGalley. That was a one-time thing and will be linked down in the description. That took me so long. Regardless, this one intrigued me because it is both a kind of poetic memoir and about sewing, where the author writes a series of essays based on the crafts she did at crucial points in her life and how they represent that part of her life. I believe there are 17 in all, and it begins with the first one she ever made back when she was still living with a previous partner and their family. And it was a little bit disconcerting to realize that it's actually told in the second person, like she's talking to the previous partner. That took me a second, but it's not the first book I've read and enjoyed from the second POV. Regardless, I did enjoy the exact specifications of what she was making. Like, it told you the exact material, because if you are a sewist, you know that, like, materials make a big difference. I love stretchy fabrics, and that's part of the reason I'm such a hand sewist, is because stretchy fabrics do not do well on a machine. Regardless, this was a very, very fast read, not just because there's a kind of flowing lyrical style, but also because there are illustrations at the beginning of every essay, and that were very stylized. In black and white, which maybe if I was thinking about it, I probably would have liked more color, but there's also like a vibe to the black and white illustrations. There are some sad moments because that previous relationship is a previous relationship. And there are definitely aspects of, like, I'm making this garment to save myself from the insanity of what's going on right now, which, like, same. And it was really relatable in that way. I think this is definitely a book where if you don't already sew, it might be a little confusing at times, but if you do, a lot of, like, the talk of how difficult it is to sew raincoat material, for example, will be right up your alley. But I also loved the discussion on her heritage, because she is, I don't remember what terminology the book used. Did they use interracial, mixed race? One Chinese parent, one white parent. And the talk about, like, should she wear, I'm going to say, no, we're going to say this right. Chi Pao? Editing, Margaret? Thank you. So there's that element of, like, does she, quote unquote, count to wear that kind of cultural heritage thing, and feeling uncomfortable in those very stereotypical heritage pieces, and also just feeling uncomfortable with, like, the concept of them because the Chi Pao has been so fetishized when it comes to Chinese women. But also I like that there was a lot of talk of the power of the quote unquote feminine labor or feminine crafts, and talk about how, like, quilting has a lot of political power. Historically, it was used, to represent the AIDS crisis. It was used by indigenous people who were originally taught how to quilt as part of their subjugation, and instead turned it around to use it as an art form to protest said subjugation, which I knew that before going into it, the political power of quilting, and I love it. Don't quilt. I do not, because it's hard. Not there yet. But I did find it amusing because Maddie's sewing style is just so different from my own. It's a lot of, okay, I have this specific fabric for this specific project, and I am a patchwork girly where I thrift or secondhand get all of my materials in one way or another, and then just you make do with what I have. And she does reference a lot of the environmental aspects of being a self-maker, of making things for yourself, and how it does make you realize, like, hey, no way in hell should these items be sold for $20 based on the amount of work goes into actually making that pair of jeans, that t-shirt, and how those, usually impoverished women of the global south are being, again, subjugated into a horrible system that everyone is participating in, and how making your own clothes is a way to step outside that. So there's a lot of really powerful ideas, but mostly just like brought up as concepts. Nothing was like very deeply delved into, which I wasn't expecting it with a, what was the book, 120 some pages my copy was. So I wasn't really expecting a ton of depth in that. I would like to see a book with more depth about those topics, like a whole like nonfiction, and I might go back to Neck Alley's crafts and hobbies section and see if someone has written that, because I'm pretty sure at some point someone has. Regardless, I gave this book how many stars? Editing Margaret. Thank you. I am getting very distracted. I have sewn so many rags. I should not be getting this distracted by this project. Regardless, again, if you're not already a sewist, a lot of the references might go over your head, but even then, there's still a lot of really good general concepts and just general references to the author's life and heritage that you could probably still get something out of. And also, cover's just pretty. I don't usually care about that, but cover's pretty. And I think that adds something. And with nothing else to say, I hope you have a wonderful day and a marvelous tomorrow.